Welcome to Relentless Pursuit with Marjorie Dudley. Real conversations with entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders who refuse to settle. This isn't about overnight success. It's about the decisions, discipline, setbacks, and standards that shape extraordinary results. If you're building something that matters, you're in the right place.
Hi there, and welcome to Relentless Pursuit with Marjorie Dudley. I'm really excited for our guest today, Nick Sproul. He is the founder, the broker owner of Cadence Real Estate Group, and he's just a phenomenal individual here in Southwest Florida. Welcome, Nick. Glad to have you today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I love the name Relentless Pursuit.
Thank
I'm
you.
a high D type of personality. It couldn't have a better name for me.
That is awesome. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because you have quite a few accolades to your name. You've personally coached dozens of top agents here in Southwest Florida. You've done over $100 million in your own real estate business, over 400 transactions. So you're no slouch. You've been pretty relentless in your business and in life. Tell us, how did you get into this crazy business? What's your story? Share with
Okay.
us.
I'll take it back a little further than even the career part is I'm a native to South Florida. I grew up in Pompano Beach.
Okay.
And was my childhood was a little wild. My parents
Mm,
are on one of these pictures behind me. They were both musicians, very like loving, compassionate people, but they got married and divorced to each other twice before I was 3 years old.
oh, wow.
Um, so if that tells you anything, my
A
my my
little.
child my childhood was a little crazy. And my sister and I moved around a few times, as I was a kid between living with my mom, moving in with my dad, moving in with my grandparents. There was times where we lived with friends of my sister. It was just kind of a unstable, tumultuous childhood. And then when I was about 10 years old, I moved in with my grandparents full time. And they were like a beacon of stability, just bootstrap, hardworking people you know, with an extremely stable marriage. And I kind of saw both sides of that. Um,
Okay. Was
when I
this your
was
dad's side or your mom's
this
side grandparents?
this is my mom's parents who lived in
Okay.
Pompano. And my dad's whole side of the family was in Michigan. Um, and so we moved a lot around a lot. Both of my parents were still in South Florida when we moved in with my grandparents, but just, kind of an unstable lifestyle. And
Was being a musician, was that what their profession was? So they're trying to find gigs and things or
um so my dad had different jobs. He like would work on furniture during the day. He worked on like aquariums at one point. He had a lot of
okay.
different daytime jobs growing up, but he was always in bands. He was a drummer. And I would go like Friday, Saturday nights, I'd be like 6, 7 years old going to his band practices. And my
Oh,
mom sang in some bands, but never was her like full-time profession or anything. Let's just say they both lived a rock star lifestyle.
they okay.
And I mean, ultimately, like that was kind of their downfall. My mom died when I was 13. Um,
Mm,
it was, she had both of them had addiction problems my whole life. And so she passed away. It was an overdose.
oh, gosh, I'm so
And
sorry.
it's okay. I mean, it was part of what made me who I am, and it was,
Hmm.
an extremely tough teenage few years, but I was 13, I was in seventh grade, and I just remember, when you hear that and it's sudden, like you go into shock. Um,
Yeah.
and then 2 years later, my dad got diagnosed with cancer and died
Mm,
just a few months later. I think he kind of always, I think when my mom passed away, my dad kind of like, I don't want to say gave up, but I think in the back of his mind, he always thought they were going to end up back
So
together. The family was going to get back together or something.
your grandparents were hugely impactful on your
Yeah.
life. What were some of the things that they imparted on you, either in words, action?
They, so my grandfather, when he was young, he went into the Navy when he was 17, I believe. And got into, he wanted to learn how to sell when he was young, and so he did
Nice.
the door-to-door encyclopedia sales. He sold shoes. He did whatever thing you could do to get started as a salesperson, so that he could later learn how to sell big electrical, mechanical products, and then eventually, by the time um, I was around and living with them. He had started his own company called Motion Products that sold these big, like they sold some of the motors, I believe, for the roller coasters at like
Very
Universal and stuff
cool.
like that.
Okay.
So that kind of products that I know nothing about, but it was just like a work ethic, it was stability, it was work ethic, it was a example of when you put your mind to something, you can go get it. Um, I started playing drums watching my dad when I was a kid, and
Hmm.
when I got to high school, this is after I had lost my mom. I joined the drum line, and I thought I was gonna be like Nick Cannon in drumline. And I thought I was going to just go out
Nice.
there and crush it. And they put a big bass drum on the smallest guy on the drum line, and I'm out there doing this, and I'm just like, this is not it. This is not what I signed up for. But they pushed me to stick to it and really kind of learn and grow and persevere. If what I really wanted was to be playing snare and be out there showing off, then I would have to get through that phase of learning how to do this and learning how to read music, and so they pushed me in that process. And sophomore year, I learned how to play snare, became the drum captain, built this drum line from like 7 people to 28 people in high school. Uh,
Very cool. We'll talk about that for a
It was
second because
the
that's a,
it was their push of perseverance and really kind of like encouraging me that I could build what I wanted to build.
one of the things I've really been exploring in particular, the last week or so, but certainly a little longer than that. But progress really is process,
Mm,
and you just talked about like kind of having to master some fundamentals before you could do what you really wanted to do
yeah,
in drums. So speak to that progress through process a
yeah.
little bit.
So I grew up first watching my dad play drums, which I mean, this tells you like how much of a confidence anchor it was as part of my life that there's drumsticks right here. And so
Nice.
when I would watch my dad play drums, you're playing on a drum set. It's a whole different type of setup. And I'm probably gonna date myself here, but the movie Drumline came out when I was in middle school, and
Nice.
I saw this example of like people up there playing like this and doing all kinds of tricks and stuff. And that was the vision I had in my head. But then I got out there not knowing how to read music, and they're like, okay, you do this. This is what you do now. And I'm like, oh crap. So there was a year, my whole freshman year, where I first had to actually learn how to do this good. And I had to
Yes.
learn how to do that the right way. But I was really driven by the vision of the next step. So I would stay up, like after school, after I would get my homework done, I would stay up at night. My grandparents would go to bed, and I'd be up till like midnight learning how to read the drumline music. So teaching myself how to read that music, and then teaching myself how to hold the drumsticks this way and play the traditional snare.
You were like the
Um,
Karate Kid of drumline. Like you had to
yeah,
wax on, wax off before
yes,
you could actually.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think that that happens a lot where we see something. Maybe we see someone who spent the last 20 years of their life building an incredible business, and there's a part of us that wants to be there, and we have to recognize that there's a whole lot of process
oh yeah,
before that point.
yeah. And I mean, I don't know if you've watched any of these real estate shows that are out here these days, but
I've,
they are they're showing this version of a real estate agent's
they're
life that
skipping the
is like,
process.
yeah, they skip the
Yeah,
whole process,
yeah.
show the $10 million house and the beautiful car, and they're out to lunch having champagne, and But
There's
I,
a grind or a
oh
there's a
yeah,
there process. It doesn't
yeah,
have to. So
yeah,
you play drums in high school and obviously have a lot of fun doing it. What comes
yeah.
next for you?
Yeah, I think that drumline part of my life kind of helped me build this idea that if there was a vision that you had, you could go through that grind, and you could reach that vision,
Yeah.
even when you're starting by doing this. And then I got to college. I went to Florida State, and my sophomore year at Florida State, I got recruited to Southwestern Advantage, where I went to a week-long training in Nashville and then was
Sales
assigned,
school.
yeah, went to sales school. Didn't know
What year
what
was
I
that?
was.
Because I was there. Like, I wonder if I think you're, what years
Um,
were you in
it
sales
was
school?
2010, 11, and 12. Yeah. So,
I was 99 to 3 or 2000 to
okay.
3. So we
Yeah.
missed each other. I'm a little older.
We missed each other by a little bit, but I sold for 3 years. My first summer, like a lot of people that got recruited to that, I was
Mhm.
attracted by the idea that, okay, as an average person, you can make X amount of money, and I was like, well,
Yes.
I can work harder than an average person. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And
That was what I said to myself. Well, I can be a little better than that.
I
Way to set
didn't,
the bar high, Marge.
I didn't. For me, it wasn't about like there was no sales experience, and I didn't think of myself as the most outgoing person in the world, but I knew I was a hard worker, and I was like, that's got to come into
Yeah.
play here, right?
Right.
Little did I know. So,
Yeah, and I knew
so
I could follow the process. Like I'm seeing themes. Like I'm very like
yeah.
just give me the XYZ. Yeah, that's funny. And I'll be better than average.
Yeah, I have not usually been a person that wants to create the track to run on. I haven't
Yeah.
always been a person that wants to build the formula. But if you've got the formula and you tell me the formula, I'm gonna work harder than the guy next to me doing the formula.
And it's important to recognize that about yourself
Yeah.
because I think sometimes people start something because maybe they see dollar signs. A lot of times it's that. It could be other
Mm,
things, or they see freedom and flexibility. Like they see those real estate shows and they're like, "You mean I could get paid all this to eat
yeah.
lunch all day?" And it's you got to recognize like what does that actually entail?
Mm,
And what about myself would work with or against that? Because
yeah.
I need process too. I'm definitely not one to
Yeah. I like
reinvent all the wheels.
and that was kind of what I realized out there, knocking on doors 80 plus hours a week. I mean, I was in West Virginia my first summer, which growing up
Okay.
in Pompano, that was a lot of culture shock. I had
Little different.
never been to a like country or mountainous area in my life.
Were you close to like
Um,
Appalachia or any of the
I
Yeah.
was in a place called Beckley, West Virginia, and it was, I'm
I did a
trying to look.
mission trip in Appalachia and that blew my mind. I was like, "You
Yeah.
mean this is here in the that was wild."
Yeah, I saw things I didn't know existed in America,
Mhm.
and
What
I don't know how much or how little to talk about that.
I want to hear like some overall lessons from
Yeah.
selling door to door, but I also is there any jump off the page crazy stories? Because I think somebody else that I interviewed Bass. I don't know if you know Hatton Bass, Basson, but we talked a little bit about books. And there's always something that crazy that happens on the book field. So did you have anything like super memorable?
I mean, I learned, I mean, there was just areas of America that I didn't know
Yeah.
existed, and ways of living that I didn't know existed. I mean, there's mountains and rivers everywhere, and I would drive through areas where, okay, there's a little valley here, and there's actually people that have just built, they have built their houses of some sort along the river, and like they
Hmm.
are houses that they look like they were just built there, and they
Yeah.
get their water from that river right there, and that is their way
Like
of
they live
life.
like it's 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
People who, I would go drive up this mountain and knock on somebody's door, and like the whole family's naked because nobody's knocked on their door in, X amount of years, and that's just how they live their
Say
life.
that's a story. I'd
Um,
say I'd say
you
knocking
know,
on doors and people answering in the nude is
there's
probably a
a
story. What it
there's a big cage in the front yard with a full-grown bear in it. I'm like, that's your pet. I like just stuff
is
that you
that
can't
dinner
make up.
later? What is that?
Yeah.
What like
Or it's catching
just in
dinner for them.
case
I don't know. Yeah, just in
bear
case.
trap or something? What overall did I sold for 4 summers and I think the lessons were massive. What were some of your
Yeah.
biggest takeaways from door to
Yeah.
door and selling and sales school and all that?
The first thing I learned was the concept, kind of to related to what we were just talking about. I first learned this concept of, the idea that it's a numbers game, that it doesn't matter if you're not a skilled person and you don't know how to sell, or you're not the most outgoing person in the world, but you just follow the formula, you will still make sales. If
Yeah.
you just work hard and follow the formula, you will still sell a few people a day. You should. And then as you sell a few people a day, and as you knock on more doors, and as you talk to more people, the skill improves. And so, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right? It's so,
Amen.
so I saw that out there at work, and I realized, like, wow, if you just do the formula, you can be successful. It was the first kind of like epiphany. Then really the understanding of, and what I think is probably the most important and most misunderstood principle of sales, is the concept of building a buying atmosphere, creating a low pressure situation, allowing people to shop instead of be sold, and to really be able to interject into your conversation multiple times, that it doesn't actually matter if they buy or not today, and so they
Right.
do.
Relieve the pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remove the
And
pressure because people under pressure don't want to buy, but
yeah.
people feeling free to make the best decision for them if what you have is the best decision for them or a really
Yeah,
good decision for them. Yeah, I love
exactly.
that. So you sold again how many summers?
I sold for 3 summers. My
Three.
my 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 third and biggest lesson though was, I recruited a team of 7 my third summer.
Nice.
And I got, I increased each summer by a little bit in personal sales. I did well in personal sales, but when my 6 of my 7 kids that I had recruited finished the summer, and it didn't matter if they were a superstar or if they just got by, their lives were changed. And I
Yes.
could see how much they grew and how much confidence they had gained in themselves by doing something hard, and it changed my life. Um,
That's awesome.
and I realized, like, I like sales and I will continue to do sales. I love sales management and mentoring and training because the impact feels bigger.
Love it.
So
So did
that's,
you go straight into real estate after that or what was your path after books in
uh,
college and door to door and
it took a detour.
okay.
I, I graduated from Florida State. After those 3 summers, I think I was a little sales exhausted for that moment, to Full Sail in Orlando for recording arts, and selling books allowed me to graduate debt free from Florida State so that I could go
Some.
take on a bunch of debt in an arts type of college. It was my backpacking 3 year phase, but I was working in I DJ'd a few nights a week in Orlando, and I was working in a recording studio there. And then I moved back to Southeast Florida, in Miami area, and worked in a few recording studios as an audio engineer. And so I would help out with recording artists and mixing and was trying to pick up clients of my own while working for the studio, and they're much bigger
So
clients.
clients of your own, clients to.
So so for example, the last studio I worked at was DJ Khaled's studio, We the Best Studios. So
That's
I was
crazy.
at Khaled's studio. I got credits on a DJ Khaled album, and uh so there was big artists coming in, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Nicki Minaj and Future and a lot of
Get
these
out.
big hip hop artists at the time were coming into the studio. But those artists have their little camps of smaller artists. And those
Got
smaller
it.
artists, they don't have yet their established audio engineer that they're going to work with on things. So, or their established producer that's making beats for them. So, I would try to pick up the smaller artists while I was,
Okay.
helping out with the sessions of the
I had
bigger
no
artists.
idea.
Yeah. So people that you never heard of because they haven't had a hit, but they are
Right.
attached to the guy with the big hit, and so you're trying to work with them to help build their music.
That's more commission based as well. Is that's
Yeah, you'd get paid hourly for like the recording process. You'd get paid like
okay.
if I was selling somebody a beat or the instrumental, that would be a set price that I had set. So not
Okay.
commission, but hey, here's the beat, here's the money. It's a sale.
Like
Yeah,
a flat rate
yeah, yeah.
sale or a piece rate. So, okay. So that's really interesting. Are you still in music? Have you maintained that as a hobby or is it kind of
Um,
fizzled?
it's like a personal hobby. Like people will still, I have my turntable set up in my garage, and I got,
Okay.
drumsticks by my desk right now, but every once in a while a friend or somebody will ask me to DJ their wedding or something like that, and I'm like,
Nice.
I can't. I love you, but I can't do it. Like
When the kids
it
get
is,
older though, you can have parties in the garage.
yeah, it is now like a just for me thing when I need to escape or get a couple minutes of.
So you go from beats and recording studio. What's next for you? What caused you to move on from that and where did you go
Yeah.
next?
I um I loved being able to work on music because I've always loved music.
Mhm.
I didn't love the structure of the industry where,
Yeah.
I would get a call at 7:30 at night and they'd be like, "Hey Nick, somebody's coming to the studio. Can you be here in 30 minutes?" And you got to jump up and go to the studio.
Oh,
And I'm on the opposite schedule of my wife, like I'm working nights, and it just kind of was a
those
situation,
musicians are night people, aren't they?
especially in the genres that I was working in. Yeah.
Right?
And so there was that piece of it, but really the biggest piece of it was that I found myself again kind of working harder than the people around me, but the structure was not set up in a way that harder work was making me move up any faster. So I
Mhm.
missed sales. So I missed that about the sales industry as a whole, that hey, the harder I work, the quicker I can climb. And
Yes.
I got in South Florida, there's a joke that like you get your driver's license, then you get your real estate license. So like
Yeah.
every, it's a very saturated real estate market. I decided to get my real estate license just as I didn't know it was going to be my career. I got my
Mhm.
license thinking, okay, I like sales. I miss sales. I work evenings in the studio. Maybe I could sell some houses during the day. And I joined a big brokerage in the area and joined a team at that brokerage and sold 29 houses my first year and got out of the
All
studio world.
right.
Um, It
That's a
was
few bucks.
it was a few. Yeah, I mean the the average agent in America does about 6 real estate transactions a year, and I knew I knew that I had like found my thing. Um,
So how did you I mean, and can when you say average agent, and I know this, from the world we do with coaching, there can
yeah,
be some agents that are 5 and 10 and 15 years in who don't even do 29
yeah,
transactions in a year. So to do that in your first year, it's not an accident. You're not lucky. There's some very specific process
mhm,
things that you're doing. So talk me through that first year. Talk me through what you were exposed to. Talk me through your mindset. Talk me
yeah.
through the action you took to have a good first year, a great first year.
Uh, I I applied all of the things I learned selling books, including the work ethic and the hours,
Hmm.
to the real estate industry.
So you weren't just a
So
part-time agent?
I had two full-time jobs. I had a night
Yeah.
full-time job and I had a day full-time job. So you talk about relentless pursuit, like I was tired. Um, and I was doing, construction work for my grandparents on the side, helping them flip a house. I
Get out.
worked in a call center for a little bit of that while I was trying to figure things out. Like I was getting after it. But when I joined the real estate team that I joined first, the way that they ran their business was all based on internet lead generation. So
Okay.
it was not the real estate agent that is out in the community building their network of people. It
Okay.
is somebody clicking on a Zillow link or a Realtor.com link, and you are pounding the phone all day. So I would literally call the same lead 3 times a day, 3 days in a row. And the joke was they either book an appointment or book a restraining order. It was,
It's-
it, it was, I'm not saying that's the way to do it. I'm saying that
right.
that's what I
That was
was
the way
told to
they
do.
did it and what yeah. Well, and I think that again there's kind of two, it's probably more than two, but there's at least two paths in real estate. One is really working your sphere and your network, and then one is like pounding the
Yeah.
leads, pounding the phones. There's
Yeah.
probably some overlap. There's definitely pros and cons to both. So this was the way you
For
learned
sure.
is really kind of hardcore, high activity,
Yeah. Which
relentless selling.
Relentless. Which, when you come from knocking on doors 80 hours a week for 3 summers and, having a door or two slammed in your face, it's not hard to get hung up on, and
Yeah.
you've built the communication skills to learn how to, if you can keep somebody from closing the door on you, you can probably do a decent job keep somebody from hanging up on you and learn how to build value quickly on the phone.
Mhm.
And then to convert those phone calls to buyer consultations, show the properties, help them get under contract, and um, I think if in the line of relentless pursuit, I sold 29 houses that year. I actually put 48 under contract. So
Wow.
I had 20 deals, 19 deals fall apart, fall
People
through.
need to know that too, because again, there's this mindset that people really crushing it in any industry have, and they don't take that personally. They don't allow those setbacks or those things that fall off to derail them working their plan. And when I see people who have, and I've been this person too, but when I see people who have yo yo months or yo yo years, a lot of times it's because something got in their head and rattled them and took them off their plan.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I was plenty of rattled. My first deal fell apart at the closing table.
Oh,
So
geez.
a lot of rattled,
But you came back for number two.
but relentless.
Yeah.
So it was, I mean, if you think about those numbers, that's like a 40% failure rate. And that's
Yeah.
like 40. Now, that's not even all of the clients that I would have got to a buyer consultation that never bought a house, all the people that I showed properties to that never bought a house. And it's not any of
Yeah,
that.
that's even higher.
Right, way higher. But 40% of the deals that I put together died while they were under
What helped
contract.
you stay going? Did you know those ratios on the front end? Or were you
No,
mentally prepared, or were you a little
it.
surprised by that?
I was not mentally prepared. I was very surprised by that, and I had to learn some really hard mistakes that I think you can only learn by doing.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff that, like, I had a mentor, I had a coach, and he did a great job of teaching me how to get people to a consultation and how to get through that process. He coached me through all of that. But there were just a lot of mistakes that I made along the way that I don't think I could have learned them
Yeah.
without going through them, you know?
Certainly
And
not
so,
as deeply.
so for perspective, 40% of my deals fell apart that year. Now, less than 4% of my deals fall apart. Like,
Hmm.
very rare is it that a deal falls apart. But at that time, I didn't know I didn't know how to prepare my clients in advance for all the things that were going to happen while
Yeah.
they were under contract, like the inspection not going great, the appraisal, all kinds of things that could go wrong. So as those things went wrong in those processes, they got added to my consultation. They got added to, being able to help people prepare for those things, set proper expectations, handle objections in advance, and really help the buyer have a much smoother process of contract to close. So
Yeah.
I was with that team for 2 years and sold about 65 houses in those 2 years. And I loved the team that I was with, and I learned a lot. And I also, it was a big brokerage, 160 agents in the office.
Yeah.
And after a certain period of time, I got my broker's license, and I
Hmm.
realized that I wanted to be in a culture of people where everybody wants to be successful, not just the 10 or 20%,
I was going
which
to
is,
ask you about that because with
yeah.
165 agents, usually there's a little bit of a bell curve
Oh, yeah.
going
I mean,
on. Or maybe 80/20 is probably it's probably
well,
80/20 would be my guess.
so the 80/20 principle is probably what you would think. Florida is the most saturated state in America for real estate agents. So it's
Mm.
bigger, it's more extreme. 8% of the agents in Southeast Florida do 90% of the business. Um,
Wow.
so in an office of 160, you have to imagine 50% of those agents probably do zero transactions a year.
Yeah.
And then you've got a big chunk who are probably doing 1 to 5 a year.
Isn't that
Um,
crazy? Like 80/20, but it was actually more 90/10. I mean,
yeah,
98, but
yeah,
it's insane how those l- laws, those rules sort of continue in all
yeah.
aspects. So 90/10 is crazy. I think we've hit on this, but I really want to underscore, highlight, emphasize. What was your mindset from the jump? I'm not going to be one of those 90%. Like what was your mindset and how did you ensure that you were in that
Um,
8%?
well, this was a time where it was really good that I had no idea any of those numbers, right? I didn't
Stupidity
know.
is a
Yeah,
skill. No, yeah, no.
yeah. Naivety worked really well for me in the beginning.
Yeah.
I knew what my work ethic was, and I was gonna apply that work ethic to whatever I was doing. So in an office of 160 agents, that means you've got about 25 agents that actually show up to the office.
Mhm.
And I was the first one there every day. 25-year-old kid. I'm there at 7:30 a.m. to set up at my desk, and by 8 o'clock I'm on the phone. And if I don't have an appointment, I'm staying on the phone until 6 o'clock. Like that is not it's
That's
not a
awesome.
fun. It was
Did
awesome,
someone tell you to
and
do
and
that or you
awful.
just knew? Like did
Um,
someone tell you to do that or you just knew I have to outwork everyone in the room? Like where did that come
Yeah.
from?
No, nobody told me to work those hours or make that many calls, but I did have a really
Mhm.
good coach there, a really good mentor there that, he would coach me on the formula. He understood a lot of the same principles that I had learned when I sold books.
Right.
And so he was there to coach me, but I don't think he even knew what kind of work ethic he was getting when he brought me into the team. And so, so yeah, I had that mindset of I'm gonna outwork everybody. And in real estate, it is a, you know, especially as a 25-year-old trying to figure it out, quitting my
Mhm.
other income sources at the time or walking away from them, pushing them back. It was like a back against the wall type of thing. The bumper of my car was tied up, like it was tied together with ropes. My car had
Oh, I love that.
260,000 miles on my car.
I
um,
love that visual though, because again, something I see is people feel like they have to have a certain, let's call it look,
yeah,
and in order before they can be a certain thing. And what you're kind of showing is I'm going to be that person, I'm going to do those things even when I don't necessarily have the, the
yeah,
bends yet, or the,
yeah,
and that can actually get in people's way. I mean, I've heard firsthand stories of people who are not selling anything, but they have a $700-800 a month car payment because they feel like they have to look the part, and they're missing the most important thing, that it is that work ethic, it is that consistency, it is the follow the process, do the thing. And probably those first 2 years are going to be the hardest and the most
hmm
important for you to get critical mass of all those activities. But don't go broke buying a car you can't afford. Like, do it
yeah,
anyway. Do it scared. Do it without the car. Do it without the
yeah. I
having
drive
everything yet.
I drive a BMW now, and no one has ever hired me because of it. No one has ever hired me because of the car I drive. When I when I had that car with 260,000 miles on it that was tied up with ropes where clients would follow me behind me driving to go show them houses,
It's not
my
safe to
bump
be in my car. Go in
my
yours.
my bumper would literally fall off on the
Oh, that's
road
good.
and I would pull into a parking lot to tie it back up and I had clients stop and help me, you know. But after I had enough money to buy a car, I bought a Maxima. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't it was no, I'm not gonna go
So
buy
smart.
the Benz or the BMW. Your
I've heard
clients,
people renting these super sports cars to try to, it's like, do the work. You don't have to
yeah,
you don't have to put on the mask or the fake. Do the work. The work
100%.
will speak for itself.
Yeah, there's a lot of people with the mask, and like the mask is not what gets you hired, you know.
No.
It is so well, I'll use that as a perfect way to transition to the next phase was like after I got my broker's license after 2 years and I worked with another brokerage to open that brokerage for the state of Florida.
Hmm.
Because if it didn't exist in Florida, and so I opened a new office.
Nice.
And what they what I started learning from my mentor, that was the president of that brokerage, was how to build your business by relationships and referrals and building a network of people that trust you, and that you trust, and that the relationships are authentic. Um, and
What was that
even
like compared to high lead
no,
calling? What was that comparison for you?
and there was an adjustment period. It
Mm,
was like the first year of the thing that worked for me well when I'm pounding the phone and getting hung up on sometimes, but I got nothing to lose and I can play this numbers game. The thing that worked for me well was I knew if I could book an appointment by noon for this afternoon. If I talk to enough people, I can schedule a buyer consultation with somebody for today. That doesn't exist the same way when your business is about go into the community, be a resource, build authentic relationships, become people's trusted advisor. That is a much slower process, but in the long
yeah.
run, way more rewarding. Uh,
That's what I'm hearing is it was really fast for you to pound the phones, but it was short-lived. So
Yeah.
it was always maybe a little bit of a hamster wheel
Yeah.
versus the relationship model, the community model, the be a resource model took longer, but I'm guessing, is it more sustainable?
Not only is it more sustainable, it creates a much better way of life for both you and the client, and
Mm,
it compounds over time. So when you're building your business through cold leads, or whether it's knocking on doors, or phone calls, your skill grows. The amount of leads you can get can grow, so you can have a linear upward trajectory. In building your business by relationship and referral and a network of people, a sphere of influence, it feels flat for a while. And then all of a sudden
yeah.
it starts to grow in a very exponential way.
So a linear growth versus an exponential growth. And I want
Yeah.
to I want to have you share too, because I know you're involved in the community and you've shared a
Mm,
couple really great organizations that you serve. Um, Tell us about your community involvement. Tell us about why that's important to you outside of,
mm.
I think it's always being involved for the right reasons, which you are.
Yeah. And that's something that we've always taught the agents that I've coached, is like, go get involved in the things that you will actually appreciate being there. Don't just go
Yes.
there to build your network. Um, so couple things I got involved in. One of the first ones was the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. And I actually, there's other people you might tell that, and they would be like, I don't want to go learn about every other person's business. And I really enjoy hearing how everybody else's business ticks. So that's why I got involved there. And,
Hmm.
after leadership Hollywood program, got involved at the board of directors level, executive board level, and I'm the president elect of the Hollywood Chamber now.
Nice.
And it is just like, it's a community of people that are all looking out for each other, and they're there not just to show up and hand out business cards, but to build authentic relationships and referral partnerships and help one another out. Um,
Very cool.
after my business and my career hit a certain level, I kind of felt like there was a need for me to give back at some point, and there was a
Hmm.
particular organization that kind of kept calling me. I kept hearing about it. Um, my way into it was through something called Guardian Ad Litem, where you're a volunteer who you meet with a kid who is in foster care of some kind, has been removed from their home due to instability or trauma or
Hmm.
trafficking, all kinds of things. And you're going to meet with them to, I don't want to say mentor them, because it's hard to get in with them a lot of times, but it is more about making sure they're okay, checking in on them, making sure they're being taken care of, speaking on their behalf in court because they're a minor and they can't. And through that program, I got introduced to Children's Harbor, which is a foster organization that specifically takes in teens in Broward County. And
Wow.
it serves a need. Teens, especially teens with this kind of trauma, are the most turned away foster youth like anywhere.
Mm.
So this organization, Children's Harbor, that I'm the vice chair of now, they house about 30 of these teens, and then they have this other housing for teens that have aged out of foster care. It's an organization I'm pretty passionate about, if you can't tell.
Well, a theme I've noticed from everyone I've interviewed so far and lots of other people that have been mentors and impactful in my life is giving back is a huge part of leadership and growth. You don't get anywhere else the things you get from giving back. So you almost have to give back in some meaningful way. And it can look a lot of different ways. It can be involved in nonprofits, it can be mentoring people in your organization, but we have to have I think as humans, we have to have an element of service to really reach our fullest potential. And you give back
I
a lot.
yeah,
I mean, it's a significant part of your months.
it is. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm involved in a few other organizations, but those are the two that I'm most involved with. And that yeah, it's doing a combination of things. If you're there for the right reasons, you know you're
There you
contributing
go.
to the cause, you know that one of the things we like to say at the board level is like, okay, are you are you able to help out with time, talent, or treasure?
Hmm.
Um, some people are there because they can stroke a big check, but they don't necessarily have the time to be involved on a day-to-day level, and that's okay
Sure.
because we need those people.
Right.
And there's others that really have a talent that the organization can get a lot of use out of, and they can't stroke a big check, and that's okay. And I'll tell you, no matter where you are in your career or your skill base or your life, like you can give one of those three things.
You
And
can give
talent or treasure.
something, yes.
Yeah.
And so now you have your own brokerage. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that journey and maybe some things that have been surprisingly awesome about that, and maybe some things that have been surprisingly challenging
Yeah.
on that journey.
So, I was my previous brokerage, I was the managing broker for 8 years, and I learned a ton. I learned a
Mhm.
lot there, and not only the relationship building process, but also I built a team of agents throughout the state, and I really got to dive deep on the mentorship part of the business. And
Mhm.
I launched Cadence Real Estate Group at the time of this recording, like 20 days ago.
Okay.
So I launched a new real estate brokerage at the beginning of 2026, and we are right now a small team of 6 agents, but by the end of the year, we'll be a mighty team of 20 something producing agents.
Love it.
It is really about um, finding this balance between personal development and the understanding that by growing great people, you grow a great company, right? I think a phrase that a
Amen.
lot of us are familiar with. Um, and this other understanding of building a relationship focused business with your clients, but that you can be the person who is having the lunch with the champagne and driving the nice car, and you can be an expert in real estate and a true professional, and the two things don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Right.
Um, and our biggest focus, I've just seen such a gap in the real estate market for mentorship. And there's a lot of brokerages out there that have great courses that you can take, and courses are not the same as mentorship. They're
Right.
they're
What
not.
define the difference? Because I have my thoughts,
Yeah.
but I want to hear your thoughts on what's the difference between courses and mentorship.
Yeah. Courses can provide some kind of roadmap. Um,
Hmm.
some courses can be really confusing if they show you 6 different roadmaps. And I
Hmm.
saw a lot of that in real estate, where there's 10 different ways to lead generate. We're going to teach you all of them. If we teach you all of them, we're really teaching you none of them, because that
You'll
agents
do none
don't
of them. Yeah.
master. Yeah, they don't master anything if they are trying everything. When you're mentoring somebody, you have the ability to constantly assess where they're at and know what the right next step is for them. And
Right. Help them customize and curate.
most of the time, that next step is not a technical real estate,
That's important.
you know?
That's important because we want to. One thing I work with clients on a lot of times is there are technical problems that do need to be fixed, and technical problems require technical solutions, but emotional or mental problems require emotional or mental solutions. Like call reluctance isn't a technical problem, it's an
Right.
emotional mental problem or, fear of closing or confidence. None of those are technical things. So I think
Yeah.
that's probably a little what you're getting at.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. Marjorie, people probably come to you and they're like, if I just knew the better way to say this part of my script, if I just knew more of the statistics about this, I'd be able to close everybody.
Yeah.
And it's reps, right?
Yep.
It's reps. It's comfortability trying to have those conversations and failing so that you can learn how to have them better, right?
Yeah.
Um, that is what that is what reps are all about, and that is the so in mentorship, you get the opportunity to help somebody see for themselves what is blocking them so that they can help
Yes.
themselves make the decision to move to the next step because you can't do that for them.
I love that. And I have two final questions, and it's been so wonderful. Firstly, I want to know, what has you hopeful, excited, optimistic about the future?
Mm. I'm just you heard me tell a little bit of that drumline story at the
Hmm.
beginning and this process of not knowing what the heck I was doing and joining a drum line of 7 people to when I graduated as a senior, we were a drum line of 28 people and we kind of dominated all the other competition around us. I have the same kind of fire about this brokerage that I've opened.
It's awesome.
I have had a lot
I
of
have it
late
for you, man.
nights, a lot of late nights in the glow of a laptop over the last few months, and I'm okay with that. I'm
That's
excited
awesome.
about building it.
That's something definitely to be hopeful and excited about.
Yeah.
And my final question for you is, who or what has helped you become and maintain your relentless pursuit?
Um, I heard somebody say recently, self-made is a bullshit term.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know if we curse on this podcast, but
We do
I
whatever we
couldn't
feel
agree
like.
with it more.
Yeah.
And
What does that
I
mean to
have
you?
I have had so many good mentors along the way in real estate and selling books door to door that I have gotten pieces of who I am and my lessons from each of them. And some of them are very different personality types from me, where I got to pull a piece of it from. But my grandparents, who, were my beacon of stability, my sister had to be mom for a lot of my childhood.
Mm,
So, my sister was always looking out for me, and my grandparents were always that beacon of stability and hard work in front of me that I could grow towards.
love that. Where can people find you, Nick?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
So
Just
so
Google him. He's
Google
infamous.
me. On Instagram, you can go to Nick Sproul Sells or Cadence Real Estate Group. On LinkedIn, you can look up Nicholas Sproul. Facebook, I think says Nick Sproul or Nick Sproul 954.
Sproul.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sproul. Yeah,
Did I
happy
say it
to
right?
connect. You said it perfect. Yeah.
Okay. I was second guessing myself. It
Sproul,
has
you
been
did it
so
right.
awesome having you. I love your story. I love your impact. I love your generosity of your time and your talent and your treasures. And I love that you are building and growing and staying relentless. It's been great chatting with you, man. Take care. And thanks for joining us on Relentless Pursuit.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Thank you for listening to Relentless Pursuit with Marjorie Dudley. If you want to build discipline, resilience, and results in your own work, that's what I help leaders and entrepreneurs do through coaching, speaking, and training. If today's conversation got you thinking about how you'd like to show up, you can find me through the links in the show notes. Until next time, stay relentless.